Miles below the ocean's surface, beyond sunlight and storms, lies a world humans have barely begun to understand. It is a place of crushing pressure, near-freezing temperatures, and ecosystems so ancient they predate trees on land. For most of history, this realm was unreachable, irrelevant to human ambition. That is no longer the case. As demand for metals explodes, the deep ocean floor has become the next frontier, and possibly the next catastrophe. Deep-sea mining promises access to vast reserves of nickel, cobalt, manganese, and rare earth elements locked inside polymetallic nodules scattered across the seabed. These metals are essential for batteries, renewable energy systems, and modern electronics. On paper, it looks like a solution to resource scarcity and a cleaner alternative to destructive land mining. But beneath that promise is a reality scientists are increasingly alarmed by. We may be on the verge of damaging Earth's largest and least resilient ecosystem before we even understand it. What exactly is deep-sea mining targeting? The main focus of deep-sea mining is the abyssal plains, particularly regions like the Clarion-Clipperton Zone in the Pacific Ocean. This area alone spans millions of square kilometers and is carpeted with potato-sized metal nodules that formed over tens of millions of years. These nodules grow at an almost incomprehensible pace, millimeters every million years, meaning that once removed, they are effectively gone forever on any human timescale. What makes this especially troubling is that these nodules are not inert rocks. They are habitats. Entire communities of organisms depend on them for attachment, shelter, and survival. Remove the nodules, and you erase the ecosystem along with them. The deep sea is not a barren wasteland. In recent decades, remotely operated vehicles have revealed extraordinary biodiversity, bioluminescent creatures, fragile corals, slow-growing sponges, and species found nowhere else on Earth. Many of these organisms live incredibly long lives, grow slowly, and reproduce infrequently. This makes them uniquely vulnerable to disturbance. When mining machines scrape the seafloor, they do more than remove nodules. They churn up sediment clouds that can spread for kilometers, smothering organisms far beyond the mining site. These sediment plumes can clog feeding structures, disrupt chemical signals, and permanently alter habitats that took millions of years to form. Scientists warn that recovery, if it happens at all, could take centuries, or may never occur. Mining doesn't just disturb the seafloor physically. The deep ocean is naturally quiet and dark. Introducing industrial-scale machinery means constant noise, vibration, and artificial light in an environment evolved for silence and darkness. Many deep-sea species rely on subtle pressure changes, chemical cues, or bioluminescent signals to navigate and communicate. Disrupting these systems could have cascading effects we cannot yet predict. There's also the issue of chemical pollution. Mining releases metals, trapped in sediments, into the water column. Even small changes in metal concentrations can be toxic to deep-sea organisms adapted to stable conditions. Once released, these contaminants do not stay put. Ocean currents can carry them far from the mining zone, spreading impact across entire regions. One of the least discussed dangers of deep-sea mining involves carbon. The deep ocean is one of Earth's largest carbon sinks. Organic material slowly settles from the surface and becomes locked away in sediments for thousands of years. Disturbing these sediments risks releasing stored carbon back into the ocean, where it can eventually contribute to atmospheric CO2. At a time when humanity is struggling to limit climate change, interfering with one of the planet's most important long-term carbon storage systems could, undermine global climate goals in ways that are difficult to measure or reverse. Perhaps the most alarming aspect of deep-sea mining is the speed at which it is advancing. International regulations, overseen by the International Seabed Authority, are still incomplete. Environmental baselines are poorly defined. Long-term impact studies are limited or non-existent, yet mining companies are already building equipment and lobbying for approval. This is a familiar pattern in human history. Exploit first, study later. From deforestation to overfishing to fossil fuels. The consequences of this mindset are written across the planet. The difference now is scale. The deep ocean covers more than half of Earth's surface. Damage done there is not localized, it is planetary. Is this really necessary? Proponents argue that deep-sea mining is essential for the green energy transition, but critics point out that recycling, improved battery design, and alternative materials could significantly reduce the need for new extraction. The question is not whether humanity needs metals, but whether it needs them urgently enough to gamble with an ecosystem that regulates climate, supports biodiversity, and remains largely unexplored. There is also a moral dimension. The deep sea does not belong to any one nation. It is part of the global commons. Decisions made today will affect generations who had no voice in the process. Once deep-sea mining begins at scale, there is no undoing it. Sediments will be disturbed, species will be lost before they are even named, ancient systems will be altered in ways that cannot be fully modeled or predicted. Humanity will have crossed another threshold, from explorer to exploiter of the last untouched realm on Earth. The question is not whether deep-sea mining will change the ocean. It will. The real question is whether we are willing to accept irreversible damage in exchange for short-term gains, or whether this time, faced with a fragile and finite planet, we choose restraint. Because the deep ocean has been stable for millions of years, and once we break it, there may be no coming back.